So welcome to 14.2. We're going to now take square roots up a level and put them in expressions. So 5 times 5 is 25. What is negative 5 times negative 5? Well, two negatives make a positive when you're multiplying or dividing, so that's 25. So negative 5 squared in parentheses is number 2. It's negative 5 times negative 5, which is positive 25. Right, because two negatives, it looks like there's one negative, but there's actually two negatives there. 5 squared is also positive 25. So the square root of 25 is 5. So what's x here? Blank times blank equals 25. Well, you might say x equals 5. Sure, x equals 5. But there's another number you could put in that blank. And the other number is negative 5. All right, negative 5 times negative 5 is also positive 25. So x could be two different things here. And that problem causes us to have something called a negative square root. The square root of 25 is 5, but there's also something called a negative square root, and all it is negative 5. All right. This is 49. Oh, this is the time symbol not coming up through. This is 49. This is 49. As long as you have those parentheses and you want them. And this is 49. All of those equal positive 49. All right, so the 6 squared is 36 and negative 6 squared is 30. Now, if you don't write the parentheses, then it's not positive 36, right? Because order of operations says you do 6 squared first. The base of the power here is 6. The base of this power is negative 6. We want to do that one, all right, not this one. So this is 225, and this is 225, because negative 15 times negative 15 is positive 225. All right, so there are 3 square roots. There's a positive square root, square root of 16 is 4. There's a negative square root, negative 4. And that asks for both the positive and negative square root. Now this symbol, you're going to see more and more over the next few years. It can be used as plus or minus, or positive or negative. It can be used both ways. But here it is the positive and negative square root of 16. And so you write both of them. That's how you ask for both square roots, in either order with a comma between them. Negative square root of 81 is negative 9. Positive and negative square roots of 144 are 12 and negative 12. Now, if someone asks you for a square root, singular, they mean the positive one, the principal one. If they ask you for square roots, right, with an S, they definitely want both. So you have to listen when people are asking you for square roots. Do I want the positive one or do I want both? Now, to have just the negative one, they've got to put that symbol or ask for it. Find the square roots of 400. So we see that it says S there, so it's 20 and negative 20. All right, so remember that list, 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, and so on, is the list of perfect squares. Well, now we're going to put those numbers into fractions. And look what you can do. You can break that up into the square root of 16 over the square root of 25. So the square root of 16 25ths is 4/5. Now let's check that, right? Square roots are squaring backwards. So 4/5 squared better equal 16 25ths. Well, it does. It's 4/5 times 4/5, 16 25ths. I checked my work there. All right, but you can take the square root of the numerator and the square root of the denominator, and that's the square root of the fraction. As long as both these numbers are on this list, they're perfect squares. So this is going to be a negative square root. Square root of 100 is 10. Square root of 169 is 13. That's negative 10/13. All right, now think of this as square root of 1600ths, right? 0.16 is 1600ths. Well, the square root of 16 is 4. The square root of 100 is 10. That's 4/10. Now you can't leave 4/10 as an answer because it's not simplified. It's 2/5. But since we started with a decimal, I'd rather you, what is the decimal for 4/10? Well, it's 0.4, right? Or if you have someone who wants you to write the leading zero, 0.4. Okay. So the negative square root of 49 hundredths, right? So it's going to be negative. The square root of 49 hundredths is, right, we have negative 7 on the top, 10 on the bottom. It's negative 7 tenths as a decimal, negative 0.7, negative 7 tenths. Right? 0.7 times 0.7 is 49 hundredths, 0.49, and this is just the negative square root, so negative 7 tenths. All right, so what's that? Well, square root of 64 hundredths, you should maybe be able to do this in your head now, is 8 tenths. And we want both, so it is 0.8 and negative 0.8. Yes, and you can actually write this as plus or minus 0.8 like that, positive or negative 0.8. Okay, so square roots are done before any other operation. They're like exponents. In fact, they are exponents, and we'll talk about that. They're also grouping symbols. So square root of 36 is 6. So we're going to do the square root first, then 6 divided by 2. The answer to that is 3. Just do the square root first, and you'll be fine. All right, so it's a grouping symbol, so we're going to do inside there. So it's 4 times the square root of 25. So now we do the square root of 25. Oh, and this is multiplication, right? This is how you write multiplication, right? Because there's no operation. There's no add, subtract, multiply, or divide symbol. That always means multiply. So this is 4 times the square root of 25, which is 4 times 5, which is 20. All right, so we order of operations. That is not going away. That is 18. 7 plus 18 is 25. So this is just the square root of 25, which is 5. Right? When you're inside grouping symbols like parentheses, and this is another grouping symbol, you have to do multiplication before adding. Okay, so this plus 8 is outside of the square root. This is about as hard as I can make them. So let's do this first. 30 minus 14. 30 minus 14 is 16. So now I have negative 2 times the square root of 16 plus 8, not in the square root. Now you do the square root. You did it inside first. Now we do the whole square root. So this is negative 2 times positive 4 plus 8. Now you have to multiply before you add. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Negative 8 plus 8. That whole thing was 0. All right, but this is a good example to show you all the rules. You do everything inside the group first. Then you take your square root. So you're always getting the square root thing done first. Then you still have to always follow, though, multiplying before adding and subtracting, right? Okay, so let's see this. So inside here, we have 2 times 5, which is 10, plus 6, which is 16. So this is the square root of 625 minus 3 times the square root of 16. Square root of 625 is 25. Square root of 16 is 4. All right, so we've gotten rid of our square roots. That took a long time. Now, we're going to have to do our multiplying first, right? Order of operations before subtraction. So it's 25 minus 12, which is 13. Right? I had to do multiplying inside there first because multiplying comes before addition. And then I had to do all my square roots before I did anything else. All right, square roots and squares cancel each other out. So the square root of 9 squared is 9. It's not 3. Now we can check this. Square root of 9 is 3, right? And then right, if you do inside there first, square root of 9 is 3. 3 squared is 9. But now that I've told you this shortcut, you can just cross those out and put positive 9. So the square root of 64 is equal to squared is 64, because square root of 64 is 8. 8 squared is 64. They just cancel each other out. All right, so let's practice. This is 10 and negative 10. Square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 1600 is 40. You do that first. Now you do this division. And the rule is because fractions are like having parentheses around the numerator and denominators. But also I said you would do that first. 40 divided by 5 is 8. Negative square root of 49 is negative 7 times negative 4. Right now this is not a square root, so you don't do negative 2 there or anything. Negative 7 times negative 4, positive 28. All right, we're going to do inside here first. That's the square root of 36. All right, so I'm just going to change that to the square root of 36. So we have 12 minus 2 times the square root of 36 is 6. So I've done all my square roots. Now I've got subtraction and multiplying. I have to do my multiplying first. That's 12. 12 minus 12, 0. All right, 0.04. The square root of 4 hundredths. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 100 is 2 tenths. But we need positive and negative 2 tenths. Not 2 hundredths, not 0.02. 2 tenths. Right? 0.2 squared is 0.04, right? Because 0.2 times 0.2, there's 4, but I have to move the decimal twice because there's 2 numbers to the right of a decimal point. All right, so the square root of that is 0.5, right? Right, that's 25. That's the square root of 25 hundredths, which is 5 tenths, which is 0.5. So it's 7 plus 0.5. Well, that's 7.5. All right, these cancel each other out, and the answer is 121. The square root of 121 is 11, but then you got to square it again. Okay, good luck with the homework.